Serving you has been the greatest privilege of my life.
A shattered Gladys Berejiklian, shocking the nation.
Resigning at this time is against every instinct in my being and something which I do not want to do. I love my job and I love serving the community, but I have been given no option.
The state's anti-corruption watchdog today announcing an investigation into the New South Wales Premier.
The issues which it is investigating are historic matters that have already been the subject of numerous attacks on me by political opponents in the last 12 months.
The 10-day ICAC hearing will probe whether the Premier breached public trust or turned a blind eye to corrupt conduct during her secret relationship with disgraced former MP Darryl Maguire, who used his position in Parliament to further his business dealings.
I state categorically I've always acted with the highest level of integrity.
Community grants which may have favoured Maguire, a particular focus.
However, standing aside is not an option for me as the Premier of New South Wales. The people of this state need certainty as to who their leader is during the challenging times of the pandemic.
Berejiklian is the third New South Wales Premier to be brought down by the state's Independent Commission Against Corruption. Nick Greiner brought unstuck by a job offer, Barry O'Farrell by a bottle of Grange Hermitage.
She has displayed heroic qualities as the Premier of New South Wales.
The PM praising the outgoing Premier as he announced a cabinet reshuffle triggered by Christian Porter's blind trust controversy. The difference stark between Porter, shuffled to the backbench, and Berejiklian, forced out altogether.
It is now more than 1,000 days since Scott Morrison promised to have a national anti-corruption body. Mr Morrison refuses to apply the same set of integrity that Gladys Berejiklian applied to herself today.
Thank you again for giving me the honour of being your Premier.
Well, plenty of politicians have been lining up to pay tribute to the outgoing Premier today, among them former PM Malcolm Turnbull, and he joins us now. So, Malcolm, what do you think? Has Gladys Berejiklian made the right call in resigning?
Look, yeah, I think so. It's it is very tough. I mean, she hasn't been accused of anything. She hasn't been, found guilty of anything. I mean, all that ICAC has done is said they're opening an inquiry. But the reality is that she feels that she can't stay serving as Premier while that inquiry is going on. And while it's feasible for ministers to step aside and for someone else to do their job for a while, it's very hard to do that if you're actually the head of government, if you're the Premier or the PM. So I think she's made the right call, but it's very, very tough. And she's a great loss. I mean, Gladys is loved in this state, as you know. I think this is a very sad day. And I think, there'll be plenty of people going on about ICAC and so forth, but ICAC can deal with that. We should focus now on what she has done, the great job she's done, and say thank you, Gladys.
Malcolm, clearly she has more questions to answer over a relationship she kept secret for 5 years and the grants given to organisations in Darryl Maguire's electorate. Do you agree? Well,
certainly the ICAC has got more questions for her. I've known Gladys Berejiklian for 30 years. She is a really good friend of mine and Lucy's. I have enormous respect for her. I've found her to be a person of the utmost integrity. So, having said that, there is a process, there's an ICAC that has to deal with it, and so, that they can do that. I'm not going to comment on that. It'd be utterly inappropriate, but
with respect, Malcolm, just because you like her and you think she's got integrity doesn't mean she couldn't have done the wrong thing, does it?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, Hamish. I'm just saying that she has been, I'm just telling you what my assessment of her, which I think is the assessment of probably, I would think, the vast majority of people in New South Wales. I mean, the reason Gladys is admired so much is not just because she's done a good job, but people can see that her passion is the serving the people of the state. I mean, she's not a show pony.
I don't think anyone's doubting that or... I don't think anyone's doubting that or denying it, Malcolm, but the reality is she did have this relationship with Darryl Maguire for 5 years. She kept it secret. She still kept it a secret after he was out. I mean, it's pretty clear that she's got some questions around her integrity, and I wonder whether all these people rushing to say she's this wonderful person are just ignoring some of the key facts.
Well, there'd be plenty of time for ICAC to look at that.
Well, Malcolm, we've seen a lot of federal politicians where there are a lot of scandals and investigations over the last 18 months, and most of them have survived. What do you think the difference is here?
Well, the difference is that, look, the truth is that in Canberra at the moment, there is absolutely diminished accountability, even from when I was Prime Minister. I mean, I couldn't believe that in the last 3 years, the level of accountability and transparency has sunk as low as it has. There's a massive accountability gap in Canberra at the moment, and you see that in so many areas. We should have a Federal Integrity Commission. Of course we should. And you know, we would, it was literally, the cabinet submission was you know, I'd gone through it with the Attorney General at the time, Porter, and it was ready to go into cabinet when I was defenestrated in August 2018. So, and it's, you know, nothing's happened. So I don't think there's a lot of enthusiasm for accountability or anything like that in Canberra at the moment, I'm afraid. And that's a big problem.
All right, Malcolm Turnbull, we will have to leave it there. Interesting to get your insights this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, great to be with you all.
From expert opinions to in-depth analysis and reporting, the Project YouTube brings you the biggest stories from Australia and around the globe. Hit the subscribe button now for news delivered straight to your feed.